My name is Frederick Murphy. I am from Tennessee. I was raised in Tennessee and live in Charlotte, North Carolina now. I am a documentarian, producer, director for documentaries, as well as a mental health therapist. And I started History Before Us out of necessity. As I mentioned, I'm a mental health therapist as well. And so there was a time in which I had a pretty nice stint of burnout in which, if you've been doing this for about 20 years, at the time it was about 14 or 15 years, you got to kind of shift your energy into other things because you absorb so much from people on a daily basis, via, providing support from a mental health standpoint. And so, collecting oral histories and just understanding history and what people's lived experience was like prior to me coming to this earth, has always been interesting to me. And so, what I was able to do was channel some of that in, uh, you know, being inquisitive about that into creating History Before Us, which started with some oral history projects, and then from there it blossomed into multiple documentaries. So I think I've been involved with roughly around 15 documentaries at this point, and this specific film, Silence Voices, is one of the ones that I've directed.
Awesome. Oh my gosh. So I know just from doing a little research into you and looking on your website, I was so intrigued and just so drawn to the fact that you are a licensed counselor and
Mhm.
how that has really shaped the way that you view this work and how I was just so intrigued by that. I don't know if you can expand on that a little bit more. I think that that's a really important facet in the way that you ask questions and answer questions because you're coming at it from a different perspective. And I think that that is what makes these films so impactful. I don't know if you can expand on that a little bit more.
Yeah, I don't want to say it has made it seamless, but it has definitely made it a whole lot
Mhm.
easier. You know what I'm saying? Just because when you're providing therapy for someone and providing support, there's a desired outcome in which as a collective you're looking to find, you know what I'm saying, to gain
Mhm.
insight, to develop coping strategies, and and just support overall. Well, it's the same thing with documentaries. Documentaries are meant, in my personal opinion, to make people spring into action about a subject matter that they see and hopefully utilize their resources. And that doesn't have to necessarily be money, but their time or just intellect or ability to network and bring these issues to the forefront so individuals are able to see them. And so, obviously I didn't go to school to be a documentarian, but I did a lot of YouTube University. I did a lot of asking individuals who have produced films before, what does this look like? And then a lot of just self-learning in the beginning, just sitting the camera down, developing questions, kind of creating the framework of the direction in which I wanted things to go from the collecting of video and footage of folks, and then kind of piecing it together. And then I worked with a team called A1 Day One Productions, Andrew Smith and Kelvin Edwards, and also Cal Scharf. I've worked with him as well, and some other folks to create the my concept and actually put it together. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
so the counseling piece definitely has helped tremendously, because I feel like it's an extension to what it is that I do from a therapist perspective.
I know for this specific film, it centers around Pharsalia in Nelson County. How did you kind of come on board with this project? How did you find out about Pharsalia? I know that they, savingslave.houses.org, that organization, they do a bunch of different field schools. But what was that process like for you?
Well, I'm on the board of an organization. It's called the Slave Dwelling Project, and Joby Hill is the founder of Saving Slave Houses,
Mhm.
and had a one of the conferences in Columbia, South Carolina. And so Joby was there. And so after the conference, one of the days of the conference, we all went out to eat, myself, Joby, and other folks. And we just kind of stayed in contact. I told her what it is that I do. And, obviously I knew what it is that she did with saving slave houses because she's done such phenomenal work. And so she had this opportunity to come about and reached out to me It was during the pandemic. She had reached out to me and said, "Hey, I'm going to be doing this film school. I've seen some of your work. I would love to work together." And so that's how things kicked off. And so we spent about 3 weeks filming in various different locations. The field school were what was at multiple sites of enslavement, but the main video, the documentary in which people will be seeing, was all filmed at Pharsalia. And so she brought myself on to direct, as well as the production company A1 Day One Productions, and we just spent so much really intimate time with descendants of the enslaved as well as the enslavers, trying to piece together this story to the best of our ability. And the reality is, it's only a 30-minute film, maybe just a little bit over 30 minutes, but that's just like the tip of the iceberg of what's really, underneath the belly of everything when you really look at it from a comprehensive point of view. But I feel like we did a pretty decent job with the time constraints in which we had, because you have things from a budgetary standpoint, and then also not only that, but people's attention span, it may not necessarily be as long. And film is changing. There's more series now than anything else. Like whenever I try to go on Netflix, just want to watch a whole movie. It's always a series to it. And so I have to, you got to watch the whole series, or what have you. And that's not a bad thing. That's just the way that times is, right now. And so even with my own personal work, with personal projects, I am looking to do a couple of series and have kind of started doing that. Uh, in the present. And so that's how everything came together. This past summer in June, we were back at Pharsalia for the second part of the field school, which will also continue up until 2027, I believe. So it's an ongoing thing. So you can expect to see some more for sure at Pharsalia.
Awesome. Through not only this project with saving slave houses at Pharsalia, but the other projects you've done as well, what's the impact that you've seen through these films or what's the impact you hope to see in the future?
Mhm. Yeah, so I've been blessed to work with a lot of different groups of folks. I worked with the North Carolina Rice Festival and directed two films related to the Gullah Geechee folks and rice cultivation. And so one of them are the foodways of Gullah folks in North Carolina along the Gullah corridor. The other was the cultivation of rice there in the Gullah Geechee corridor in North Carolina. I've worked with a group of Afro-Indigenous folks from North Carolina to Oklahoma. We filmed in Oklahoma as well and have done screenings in Oklahoma as well as other places across the country. Um, Worked in Edgecombe County, North Carolina, which is the eastern part of the state, with an environmentalist group, or well, not an environmentalist group. Well, some of the folks are environmentalist, some of the people that are featured in the film, but we worked with the Citizens for Responsible Zoning, and they were a community organized group that fought against a hog processing plant coming into North Carolina, where they would have dumped millions of pounds of unfiltered hog waste into 12 different waterways in North Carolina. So, and that was in 1995 and 1996, in which that protest was going on, and they were able to win that and not have multiple hog processing plants there. I've just really been blessed to work with a lot of folks in a lot of different areas of this big old thing called life in this world in which we live in. And my whole thing with all of the communities that I've worked with and the people that I've worked with is to for one, at least provide a platform for their stories to be told. And I don't have like a huge platform, but it's something, and I feel like anyone's platform should be utilized for good. And then also encourage individuals that may view these films to do their own due diligence and research what similarities in other communities they may have in their own, and go out and ask questions and become, very inquisitive and get the answers that they may need so they can have a full depiction of what life was like prior to them getting there, and how the actions that people put forth prior to our existence shaped and molded the way that things are now.
Who are some of the people that you are inspired by, who like other people's work, or who else would you recommend people to that are, interested in learning more? What are some of the people you like to read, or people like stories that you like to watch, or just what are your recommendations?
Yeah, so I was born in the 80s. Well, I was born in 79. So I'm an 80s baby essentially. And so Spike Lee has just always been, I mean, he's the guy, right? Like he's a supreme storyteller, whether it's in documentaries or whether it's in film. And so, really have drawn a lot of inspiration from him for sure, just because he's so dynamic as it relates to his storytelling and identifying issues that a lot of people may not have even thought about, from the intersection of race, from the intersection of history, and just all of these different things. So I definitely draw a lot of inspiration from Spike Lee for sure. And I would say from just because I am a quintessential independent filmmaker in every shape and every way, shape, and form. And so just kind of like the outline that Tyler Perry put out with him putting up his own funds to show and tell these stories. I've done that with a lot of my films. Just, sometimes it causes a lot of credit card debt or what have you, but you gotta kind of, I mean, you want to do it so bad, you want to tell these stories. You want people to be seen who've been marginalized and have been made to feel small. So his blueprint from a business standpoint is something that I really, really pay close attention to. And as it relates to readings, my God, there's just so many different authors that are out there. Like you have your library back there, I have mine back here. You know what I'm saying? And it's just I can't name one person in particular just because there's just so many of them, and I would feel bad by not shouting everyone out. But I'm an underdog guy, right? Like I'm a guy who really enjoys those unheralded stories, those unheralded readings, those unheralded documentaries, and people that are in them that people may not have even thought of, right? And just diving into the psyche of those individuals that may not have had the supreme creme de la creme resources that other people have had, but they may do with what it is that they've had, right? And so I'm constantly just on YouTube, like Googling history docs and this and that, and just finding just so many different amazing stories. And I hope that people see the same thing for what it is that I put forth into the world.
So, how did working on this project and other projects you've done in the past change or shape the way that you viewed history, or how did that impact your perspective just on the world in general?
It's done a great deal because I always have viewed myself as a sponge. Like I feel like every single day that we're on this side of the earth is an opportunity for us to learn something. You know what I'm saying? And if we shut off that valve to where we say at this point in time right now, I'm already full, and hopefully we have a whole lot more living, right? I mean, I'm 45. I would like to be around to 100 something, right? So do I sacrifice 50 some odd years potentially of learning and say that I'm good right now with everything that I've learned? I mean, that just wouldn't be smart to me, right? The brain is our biggest muscle, so it has to constantly be activated with new things. And so for me, because I felt like I was deprived from a K through 12 experience as it relates to understanding true history or history as a whole in the K through 12 school system. Um, this is in the people that I've sat across from they're my history teachers. They're literally my history teachers. They may not be standing in front of a formal classroom or what have you, but I learned so much from them. And you got to think about it. There's hundreds of millions of people that live on this uh, in this country. And so that means that there's hundreds of millions of stories that are out there. So there's always something new to learn. And I feel that evolution um, is very dependent on what it is that we absorb and what it is that we learn from a progressive standpoint, or, to gain a deeper insight and understanding of how the inner workings of society is. And a lot of that can be found through history because you had to, I mean, and people are very innovative with things that they come up with, but a lot of things are remakes So I'm the kind of guy that wants to know, okay, where was the originator? Who was the originator? What was the thought process going into the original aspect of this? You know what I'm saying? And so, yes, absolutely. I've learned so much from everybody um, throughout all of the generations that I've interviewed about their lived experiences and about what life was like for them and their perspective of what life is like now, and also what their perspective may be like with life going forward in the future. You know what I'm saying? And so,
Mhm.
um, constantly learning and loving to learn, and I don't plan on ever stop learning as long as the creator allows me.
So,
Mhm.
what's next for you? What are you working on in the future? Is there anything that you can share of like upcoming projects or anything exciting going on?
Yeah, so currently touring three different films. So this film, and then um, The Indelible Appalachians is a film that I released with Andrew Smith last year, and is focused on Black folks in Appalachia. And so we just had a screening at the National Storytelling Center. We just screened at in Asheville with Mayheck. We have a screening coming up at UT Knoxville for Black History Month, and just a variety of different places throughout Appalachia and beyond. And then also have a film out with the co-director, which is my cousin Kimberly M. Knight. And that film is called Duality, of Collection of Afro-Indigenous Perspectives. And so we're screening that in various different places across the country, virtually as well as face-to-face screenings. Um, I recently was awarded some support funds for a project in Alabama. That's where my family was enslaved. And that film is titled The Echoes of the Forks of Cypress. And that's myself and other descendants of the Forks of Cypress who were enslaved are going back to the former plantation. And we connected with the descendants of the former enslavers and putting together that story of what healing looks like. And so we were blessed to introduce the trailer for that film with a there was an honoring of Roy Wood Jr. as well as Rick Skaggs in Alabama through Alabama Humanities Alliance. And so I'm looking to have that project released probably at the top of the summer. So we'll be going around the country doing that as well. Because a lot of people, even though they may look at that film being based in Alabama or this film being based in Virginia, the reality is a descendant story is a descendant story. What may have happened in that county, this county, most definitely happened in another county in another state. It's just same script, different cast. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
However, each script has its own unique spices to it. You know what I'm saying? And so for me, I feel like it's my job to pull that out. And so those are some of the things that I'm working on now. Um, Other projects, and if people would like to check them out, my YouTube channel has some of those documentaries that are free to watch. And that YouTube channel is literally History Before Us. So you can go to YouTube and just type in History Before Us. My Instagram and all my social media is at History Before Us, just how it's spelled, no spaces or anything. So the word history, the word before, and then us all together. And I have a couple of other projects that I'm working on here locally in Charlotte, North Carolina. Working on that. I can't necessarily divulge that just yet, but soon I will be able to. And just looking forward to a big 2025. My calendar's already filling up with some speaking engagements and other opportunities. And so, I've been at it since 2015. So, they say give it about a good 10 years and then you can kind of start bubbling. So hopefully that's my time to bubble. Got to
Awesome.
get these stories out there. Got to get these stories out there for sure.
Absolutely. No, this has been so awesome, and thank you so much. And for everyone watching this, make sure you go follow Frederick on all of his social media. Go watch his YouTube videos. I know what I'll be doing today is going on to your YouTube channel.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you so much. This is awesome.
Thank you.